So after he abdicated, William II, basically the Hohenzollern, the House of Hohenzollern, who has Albert, this cross-eyed, weird, sideward, fucking hat looking dude. I don't know, what was that? Some sort of disease. Converted to Lutheranism, so he's not Catholic, right? So he's Lutheranism. First monarch of the Duchy of Prussia, secularized state, emerged from the former monastic state of the Teutoburg Knights. Edward's first European ruler to establish Protestantism as the official state religion of his lands. So it could have been religious freedom, right? The Gripshavers could have came over for religious freedom if they're being ruled by a bunch of Protestants. The House of Protestants, the House of Hohenzollern is a bunch of Protestants. Albert of Prussia, this is the patriarch of the Hohenzollern. This is his bloodlines that we're going to fucking, just saw a documentary actually they was talking about William II. He's the one who abdicates and, right, the great betrayal of Germany. So William II, he has bad blood, so actually he's growing up and his head gets closer and closer to his shoulder, so he's getting like a weird fucking, he's gonna be like growing up with like a fucking S curve spinature, right? So he's got weird blood that's like makes me think of Rasputin and the Tsar Alexander and Alexander's, right? They had a weird sick kid who is hemophiliac or bled all the time or had some weird ass disease. But I mean, they keep on, interbreeding. You keep on interbreeding and intermarrying. You're gonna have, blue skin. You're gonna turn into the Fugates. We need more black blood, more of that strong African blood. So actually, everybody should, for the next generation, everybody should just marry a black person, man, woman, right? The opposite, so that way you can make babies. So that's what the next generation of Gripshavers need to do. To get some of the more dominant genetics, so we can sort of make the family stronger. So this is actually, he made some comments actually about England that I thought was pretty interesting. But he was sitting there talking about so World War I happens and then he gives up the throne to the revolutionaries and they become a republic. So it becomes, they start having elections and they start voting for their own leadership. And then you have the rise of Hitler, Nazism, fascism, and he was impressed with him and was sort of kissing his ass, and then eventually he turns on him. So here's there's sort of some of the interactions between the two. We cease to live under the rule of law. Everyone must be prepared for the possibility that Nazis will push their way in and put them up against the wall. So here's that the murder of the wife of the former Chancellor Schleicher. So he actually understands, he's turning on him right now. He played host to Hermann Göring at Dorn on at least one occasion. Wilhelm grew to mistrust Hitler. So, the pogroms, the Jewish pogroms are going to be something else. Wilhelm was also appalled at the Kristallnacht of November 9 to 10th, 1938, saying, I just made my views clear to Alwi, Wilhelm's fourth son, the president of his brothers. He had the nerve to say that he agreed with the Jewish pogroms and understood why they came about. When I told him that any decent man would describe these actions as gangsterisms, he apparently appeared totally indifferent. He was completely lost to our family. For the first time, I am ashamed to be a German. So the Jewish pogroms, right? He's coming out against the Jewish pogroms and the slaughter of them. But eventually he's going to blame the Jews, Eventually you have the anti-Semitism. I don't know why all these great industrialists, they all blame the Jews. I mean, they're so terrified of them. Okay, Jews, maybe they are tied with their money. Maybe they save money. Maybe they have, they're loan sharks and have, high interest rates. You do the same thing. Do the same thing that they're doing. Save your money and, don't have high interest rates, but have high enough to where if you get screwed over, you have some sort of buffer, some sort of insurance. You don't have to get people when they need you the most. A good capitalist is absolutely cutthroat. You don't have to be absolutely cutthroat, but you can still be profitable. So be profitable. You don't have to just throw your business away. So be Jewish. Albert Einstein was Jewish and German. So there's German Jews out there. And who gives a shit? Culturally Jewish, that the fucking all religions are stupid. So if you think the Jewish religion's dumb, the Jews are the Christians before the Christians, and they're also the chosen people. And if you're a Christian and you think the Jews are the chosen people, well, then why are you not Jewish? Why Why are you a Christian? So anyways, in the wake of the German victory over Poland, September 1939, right, because that's a victory, right, if you just kind of storm a country when they're not paying attention, William's adjutant, General von Domays, wrote on his behalf to Hitler, stating that the House of Hohenzollern remained loyal and noted that 9 Prussian princes, 1 son, and 8 grandchildren were stationed at the front, concluding because of the special circumstances that require residency in a neutral foreign country, His Majesty must personally decline to make the aforementioned comment. The Emperor has therefore charged me with making a communication. Wilhelm greatly admired the success which Hitler was able to achieve in the opening months of the Second World War, and personally sent a congratulatory telegram when the Netherlands surrendered in May 1940. My Führer, I congratulate you, and I hope that under your marvelous leadership the German monarchy will be restored completely. Hitler was reportedly exasperated and bemused and remarked to Linge, his valet, "What an idiot! Oh, what an idiot!" in German, right? In another telegram to Hitler after the fall of Paris a month later, Wilhelm stated, "Congratulations, you have won using my troops." In his letter to his daughter Victoria Louise, Duchess of Brunswick, he wrote triumphantly, "Thus is the pernicious entente cordiale of Uncle Edward the Seventh brought to naught." Nevertheless, after the Nazi conquest of the Netherlands in 1940, the aging Wilhelm retired completely from the public life. In May 1940, when Hitler invaded the Netherlands, Wilhelm declined an offer from Churchill of asylum in Britain, preferring to die at Heusden. During his last year at Dorn, Wilhelm believed that Germany was a land of monarchy, and therefore it was a land of Jesus Christ, and that England was a land of liberalism, and therefore of Satan and the Antichrist. William II argued that the English ruling classes were Freemasons thoroughly infected by Judah. The English, this is Americans, right? This is the American roots of the English. So the Freemasons are infected by Judah. So I guess Judaism. He's he's anti-Semitic. He's going way of Hitler, right? He's showing he's got fucking anti-Semitism in it. I don't know. Freemasons thoroughly infected, so also Freemasons. I'm pretty sure George Washington was a Freemason. William asserted that the British people must be liberated from the Antichrist Judah. We must drive Judah out of England just as he has chased out of the continent. He believed the Freemasons and Jews had caused the 2 world wars, so he blamed the Jews and the Freemasons, aiming at a world Jewish empire with British and American gold, but that Judah's plan had been smashed to pieces and they themselves swept out of the European continent. Continental Europe was now, William wrote, consolidating, closing itself off from British influences after the elimination of the British and the Jews. The end result would be a U.S. of Europe. In a letter of 1940 to his sister, Princess Margaret, Wilhelm wrote, "The hand of God has created a new world, and working miracles were becoming the U.S. of Europe under German leadership, a united European continent." He added, "The Jews are being thrust out of their nefarious positions in all countries whom they have driven to hostility for centuries." Also in 1940 came what would have been his mother's 100th birthday, on which he wrote, "Ironically, to a friend today, the 100th birthday of my mother, no notice is taken of it at home. The memorial service or committee to remember her marvelous work for the welfare of our German people. Nobody of the new generation know anything about her. This sympathy for his mother's in sharp contrast to the intense animosity expressed for her during most of her life." So, Freemasons, right? Fuck the English, because they're a bunch of Freemasons, a bunch of Jewish Freemasons that want to consolidate and make a Jewish empire. You know, the United States and Europe, and they make a house of gold, and then the Jews like control all the gold of the world, something like that. So that's Williams II. That's the Germans. That's his last hurrah. All right, he's basically had nobody in exile for 20 years after he abdicated his throne, and then he, towards the end of his life, just shits all over England. When he actually admired England very much, the Queen of England, like, I think, died in his arms or something, and then people like clapped for him because, you know, he was there and held her, and you know, was like making sure there was going to be a peace or some shit. I don't know. Yeah, that's William II. He's a German nationalist. I think he was part of the British Royal Navy. So he was, you know, took positions in the Royal Navy Army, and so like he was part of their government and probably loved the uniform and all this shit. So, you know, what a hypocrite, right? What a hypocrite. So great German nationalist. He's not a German Kentuckian anarchist socialist nationalist. You know, he's not an American humanist. He's not a postmodern nihilist. A postmodern, yeah, nihilist. So, politics in Germany. Germany is a federal parliamentary republic, federal legislative invested in the Bundesstaat, the Parliament of Germany, and the Bundesrat. So you have the Bundestag and then the Bundesrat, the representative body of the Länder, Germany's regional states. So you have, you're right, Germany proper, Bundestag, and then you got Bundesrat, which is all the states, the 16 states. It's a multi-party system that since 1949 it's been dominated by the Christian Democratic Union and the Social Democratic Party of Germany. The judiciary of Germany is independent of the executive and legislature. Political system is laid out in the 1949 Constitution. The Grundgesetz sets basic law, which remained in effect with minor amendments after German reunification in 1990. The Constitution emphasizes protection of individual liberty and exchange catalog of human and civil rights, divides powers both between federal and state levels and between the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. It can be understood as the downright opposite of Nazi totalitarianism, was designed up to its details to learn from historical experience and to eliminate any possibility of such a wrong once and for all. So yeah, the chancellor, which has the real power, the president is just ceremonial. The chancellor has a federal cabinet, so they have power, right? The federal diet, which is the parliament, federal council, also parliament, state legislatures, right? They have like, they all combine somehow in some weird way, and that's the government. That's the government. Anybody 18 over 18 years of age. So they have elections, right? They have elections. They're democratic, whereas before they weren't democratic. Austria and Germany, or Australia and Germany, are actually really close allies. The 60th anniversary of Australian-German bilateral relations. So 60 years, that's been what, after the fall of Hitler, they've been, you know, trading really well for 60 years. So great job, Australia and Germany, on your successful trading relationship. System of government. Germany is a federal republic. The federal government, based in Berlin, consists of the federal chancellor and the cabinet of federal ministers. Federal elections are held every 4 years. In addition, there are 16 state governments, thousands of local government communes. Each state has its own constitution and state parliament. State elections are held every 4 or 5 years. Federal legislative authority is the Bundestag, parliament or lower house equivalent, whose members are elected through a combination of direct election and proportional representation. Following each federal election, the Bundestag elects a chancellor by absolute majority. Angela Merkel was sworn in as chancellor for a third term. So 3 terms in a row. Chancellor, December 17th, 2013. I think Hitler, Otto von Bismarck, chancellor, following the federal election, September 22nd, 2013. Bundesrat, federal council, upper house equivalent, represents 16 state governments and has 69 seats based on population size of state. Has between 3 and 6 votes. Bundesrat debates all legislation but approves legislation affecting state responsibilities, e.g. tax revenue, blah, blah, blah. Political parties, Christian Democratic Union, Social Union, Social Democratic Party, Green Party, Free Democratic Party, Left Party, Die Linke. Left Party is relatively recent addition to Germany's political landscape. So the Left Party, that's awesome. The Left Party. The Green Party, the Free Democratic Party, because there is no left party, right? So we're the left party. Current government, the last German federal election was held September 22, 2013. CDU, CDS, Christian Democratic Union, and Christian Social Union secured the highest percentage of votes, 41.5%, followed by the SPD, 25.7%, and Left Party, 8.6%, and Greens, 8.4%. So the CDU, CSU, and the SPD formed a coalition government with 504 seats out of a total 631 in Bundestag, and the new German cabinet was sworn in December 17, 2013. So new government with Merkel at the head once more. So, you know, she's a dictator, right? She owns it. Merkel controls fucking Germany, but they have elections, right? So whereas all these kings and princes and assholes, they never had fucking elections whatsoever. So fuck the monarchy. Ever since they chopped off the head of Louis the 16th, not fucking King Louis, the anti-King Louis, the fucking anti-monarchy, because it was his end, is going to be the end of it. And there's the Alexanders, so the Bolshevik Revolution, their massacres is just an absolute fucking they ended their fucking monarchical rule. And so by the death, everybody dies. Why we're gonna have hereditary divine right of kings? The fucking God has chose this family, you know, to always rule. Bullshit. You just want to maintain power. And so a lot of times there's a accession, right? The war for Spanish accession. Well, coming up.